Hello, my name is Taylor. Welcome to my channel. This video is if you like this movie, then you might like this book, or vice versa. This is actually a subscriber pick video. I was thinking through some content ideas that I could do. Several of them really seemed fun, and so I just got the idea to ask the masses which one you would prefer. So I put a poll up on Instagram and YouTube, and this one won by a landslide. Was really not expecting that, and because of that, I did not fully think through what it would require to make this video. So this was harder to make than I thought it would be, but in the end, after some time and much contemplation, I have come up with a list. So there are some similar characters, similar moods or vibes, similar genre, similarness enough between the book and the movie that I think it's worth checking out both of them. All of these movies and all of these books, I do like them. So if you have a similar taste to mine, then you might could check out one or the other. If you've seen the movie, you can read the book, or if you've read the book, you can look at the movie. So I don't get to talk too much about movies on a booktube channel, so I'm kind of excited to do this. A couple of disclaimers. First of all, there were several movies that I ran across looking for them to include in this video, and some of them were film adaptations, so I chose not to do like the corresponding actual book. If you are interested in my favorite book and movie pairings, like an adaptation video, I guess, let me know in the comments. I would love to do that. I have several favorite movie adaptations, so I would be willing to do that if y'all are interested. But I chose to do a different story that has a similar feeling for this video. Also, with the movies, there may be a little bit of content in some of these. None of them are graphic or rated R or anything like that, but there may be a couple of things here and there that I will try to remember to point out to you. That's been a while since I've seen some of these movies, but, you know, to have a well-made movie, a lot of times there's going to be a couple of things in there. So I will try to remember to say anything, but I will have everything listed in the description box for you to check out in case you are interested. So like I said, I tried to pick out things that were similar. So if you agree with me, let me know. If you disagree, let me know that too. I think that would be a fun conversation. But in my mind, there is some sort of connection. So here we go. First up, if you like the movie The Book of Eli, you will like Last Light by Terry Blackstock. Both of these stories are apocalyptic time stories. Something catastrophic has happened to the human race, and these groups of characters are trying to navigate living in such a time when there's a bunch of chaos, anarchy, all the things. Both of these stories have groups of people fighting for survival. There is action in both of these books, the movie and the book. More so in the movie, there's a lot more action in that one. And both of these have actually Christian themes in them. This is a Christian book. It's about a Christian family that's figuring out how to still stay true to their Christian values, Christian beliefs, how to live like Jesus in a trying times. And the Book of Eli, he is trying to protect the last Bible and get it to some place where they can mass produce it. So Christian themes going on there for both of them. There is hope in both of those. And I don't know, it's just a trying time story, but there's hope threaded throughout. So I really recommend this series as a whole in general, but specifically book one, because you gotta start with book one. It is a continuation. There's 4 books, I think, 4 or 5, I can't remember, but all the books are excellent. This is one of my favorite series. It's the Restoration series, so check it out. For the next one, I'm going to do the reverse because I have 2 movies that would work for this one book, and it does also have its adaptation, but again, I'm not talking about the adaptation. So, Love Comes Softly by Jeanette Oak. If you like this book, then you will like, first off, Magic of Ordinary Days. This one is a Hallmark movie, but I promise this one is actually not cheesy. This one is very well made. It's a historical novel, so both of these are historical romances, and both of these have women that did not expect to be married to the male protagonist. This one is, she loses her husband on the way to living out west. And this one, she's a mail order bride. So they're both trying to navigate how to be wives, falling in love with their husband, all the challenges that come along with meeting and marrying a stranger. And yeah, both of these are really beautiful love stories. The other movie I think that is similar is Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. This is a musical, so that's not what's similar. It just makes the story a little bit more fun. This is one of the rare few musicals that I actually do enjoy. Most of them I find annoying, but I do love this movie. So what I do find similar, this also has a woman who meets a stranger and marries him and figures out how their love kind of blossoms throughout the movie. Actually, there's the seven brothers. If you want to count all of them, that's similar too, but that's a little bit further into the story. But also the time frame is very similar. This is the westward expansion time frame, and this one, I'm not exactly sure what time period it is exactly, but these people, they're very much living on a farm and, you know, taking care of things. They're surviving, self-sufficiency. So similar lifestyle depicted in the book and the movie. If you like the movie Stardust, you will like Secrets in the Mist by Morgan L. Busse. So a couple things I want to say content-wise about Stardust. There is a fade to black sex scene in that one. It's not explicitly shown or anything, but there is a tiny little bit of lead up to it. But for the most, it's PG-13 appropriate. There is a character that he is flamboyant in his behavior, so I'll just say it that way. And then the third thing is there are witches depicted in this movie. They are definitely not the good guys. They are the villains in the story. There's a little bit of a grimy, dark movie. There's a couple of like squeamishy type things that happen in it. But again, they are not the good guys. It's a very much a evil versus light type story. But so if those things bother you, I would not recommend the movie. But otherwise, I did really enjoy it. There is actually a book to it. I've never read the book. But as far as this book being similar, so there are, in both the movie and the book, there are ships that are like this. So that's one thing that's similar. But it's both stories have characters that get on a ship that flies, and they are traveling, and they are on a journey to discover something or find something, and they both have this, like I said, gloomy, dark type of feeling to them. This is a duology, and they are both quite excellent. This is also a Christian story as well, but Stardust is definitely not. But yeah, so that's what I would consider similar. This next set, I do not own either the book or the movie, but I would love to own both of them. And I debated on whether to include it or not, because there's probably a smaller set of people that would enjoy the movie specifically, but I am including it because I am a fairy tale retellings girly at heart, and I know a lot of y'all like it, so I'm throwing it out there. But if you really enjoy the Beauty and the Beast story, I would highly recommend both of these. So I'll start off with the book first, because it's probably more well known than the film, I'm going to say. So if you like Beauty by Robin McKinley, you will like La Belle and La Bête. So it is a French film. Actually, the Beauty and the Beast story is French in its origin. It is black and white, and it is entirely in French. So you have to actually sit and watch it. It is, has subtitles, so you know what's being said, but you have to read the subtitles. You can't, they're speaking in French. So that's why it is a little bit more of a niche, because it is in black and white. It's an old film, and it is subtitled. So there is another Beauty and the Beast movie that I do visually enjoy, but I have a little bit trouble recommending it because I personally don't like dubbed movies that much, because it's just a little bit distracting that their mouths don't match what they're saying, and a lot of times the voices are just off. So it is a visually appealing movie, but I don't necessarily recommend that one. I really much prefer the subtitled one where I can read it. So that's just a personal thing. I would recommend both, but specifically for this book, I would recommend La Belle and the Bête because it is very, very similar to the book. Like when I was reading the book, I've seen the movie several times. Whenever I was reading the book, I would see the scenes working out in my mind. And they did such a good job, by the way, for it being that old of a film. They did an amazing job with the set and the costumes, and they just did a phenomenal job. So if you are a big movie person and don't mind foreign films, I would highly recommend it. But yeah, the story itself is very, very, very similar. There's only a couple of things that are different in the book. If you like the movie Star Trek, you will like Recorder by Kathy McCrum. So both of these are sci-fi stories, so that has one thing that's similar. But there is also characters in each of these that are coming to terms with their humanity. Spock is part human, part Vulcan, and Vulcans do not show emotions. So he's coming to terms with how to deal with emotions and where he kind of fits into being in the middle of two worlds. And then Recorder, she is a human, fully human, but she had machinery in her brain to suppress emotions, and then the machinery is broken, so she is all of a sudden feeling emotions. So both these have characters figuring out human emotions, how to grow over time. Huge character arcs for both of these. I would say just Star Trek in general, but we're talking about movies, so here we are. And also, both of these have found family. So the characters in both of these are like family, even though they're not blood relations. They care about each other. They take care of each other. There's action in both of these. There's romance in both of these. I love both of these so much. If you like the movie Rebecca, based off of the book, you will like Finding Lady Enderley by Joanna Davidson Politano. So this is the black and white film that was made in 1940. There is a newer edition, and I much prefer the older one. This is black and white. So good. Definitely a classics film lover probably should or has seen this movie. So it's the similar about both of these. There is the main character who is trying to figure out a mysterious female figure in both storylines. So Rebecca is the former wife to this main character's husband, and everybody talks about Rebecca, how wonderful she is, but her husband just does not want to talk about her. So what is up with Rebecca? What happened to her? Why is everybody so obsessed with her? And then Finding Lady Enderley is this woman has agreed to act as the mistress of a home, but what happened to the mistress? Where did she go? Is she still alive? Where is she? Is she being lied to? So that mystery component of it. And also I would say that the book very much has the feeling or the mood of Rebecca, the black and white specifically, because this is a noir film, which is, very dark setting. I would describe that same feeling as in the book too. It's very moody. So there is romance in both of those, but it's not the primary plot point for both of those. If you love the movie Titanic, then you will enjoy A Brilliant Night of Stars and Ice by Rebecca Connelly. So quick pause on content for Titanic. I did watch it fairly recently, and so just a couple of reminders. If you've never seen it, or if you have not seen it in a while, there is some language in that one. There is definitely some sexual content, so there is a nudity scene and a sex scene in there, and I just skip over those parts. Honestly, the romance in that one is not my favorite. I could care less about the romance and more so the Titanic itself. I love seeing the costumes and the scenery and all of those things. The dancing scene is quite fun too. But yeah, the romance was never quite my favorite because I just never forgave Jack for calling her stupid at one point. But anyways, That's my reminders for the content for that one. But the theme between both of these is Titanic itself. The book is dual perspective, so there is a Titanic passenger and then the captain of the Carpathia, which is the ship that rescues the Titanic survivors. So Titanic is just the central theme for both of these stories, but the book is clean except for I think 1 or 2 cuss words, but they are very situationally appropriate for what was going on. Otherwise, no sexual content in the book. If you enjoy the live action Beauty and the Beast, then you will enjoy Amber Gold by Rochelle Nelson. So I said the live action, although I do prefer the cartoon more. I said the live action because whenever I'm picturing this, I don't picture in cartoon form. I picture the real life people, and I think the Beauty and the Beast live action is very beautiful and vibrant in its colors, and that kind of more closely fits my internal movie of reading this book. So what is similar between these two is a young woman ends up in a castle with a beast type character. This one is specifically a dragon. And things are not all that they appear to be. Both are love stories. Both have high stakes in both of these. And there are characters coming against the beast character. A little bit of action in both of these. There is actually a very big climax scene in this one where I was definitely riveted. So, yeah, I really love Beauty and the Beast, if you can't tell. If you like the movie Risen, then you will like Jerusalem's Daughter by Jenna Van Maurik. So these are both set during the time of Jesus's crucifixion and resurrection. And both of these characters encounter Jesus and are forever changed by it. And it's just beautiful to see them grow in their character development and their faith. And yeah, similar time frame. If you like Downton Abbey, I say this as I'm putting up the movie on the screen, but you've got to start with the series first and then watch the movies because it's a linear timeline. But because this is a movies video, that's why. But if you like Downton Abbey, you will like Hope Between the Pages by Pepper Basham. So this is the same time period. Both of these have big houses. So this is actually set at Biltmore. So the real life Downton, but set in America, I guess. And both of these have the upstairs and downstairs. So upstairs is the aristocracy, downstairs is the servants, and both of them have specifically one of the character sets in Downton. There is a love story between someone who is part of the family that owns the house and one of the servants. And this one is about a servant who falls in love with, he doesn't own the house, but he is a guest at the house. If you love Pride and Prejudice, the 2005 movie, you will like Edenbrook. So let me just pause here. I do personally more enjoy the A&E miniseries, the 1995. That is my tried and true. However, I feel like the 2005 more strongly fits with Edenbrook because of the scenery. I think it's more vibrant, more spring type feel to it. And I think that more closely fits Edenbrook because Edenbrook, that house is, that setting is described very beautifully, like very scenic, very gardeny England type of setting. Both of them are Regency era and romance stories. That just that feel you get from a Regency story is in both of those. If you like the movie Gone with the Wind, you will like All Things New by Lynn Austen. So the timeline is what is mostly similar between these two. Gone with the Wind is, there's a portion of it that's pre-Civil War, but most of it is during or after the Civil War. And All Things New is set right at the end of the Civil War and the Reconstruction time period. So definitely similar historical feelings, mood for that. There is also characters in each of those that are learning how the Civil War has changed the world, or in the U.S. really, and how those changes are impacting them and how to live with that. The All Things New book has 3 character perspectives, and one of them specifically is kind of very reminiscent of Scarlet to me because she is harder to like. She was a former slave owner, and she has very wrong thinking, and she's clinging to what once was, and still views former slaves as slaves. And yeah, that's similar things with Scarlet. And then there is also another character who is more like Scarlet in personality. She has headstrong, independent, let's do what needs to be done type of character. So those two specifically are very much like Scarlet, like a combination of the two of them are very much like Scarlet. So, but I will say, Scarlet does not grow a ton as a character. I mean, you don't really like her, and that's not the point in the movie. There's a glimmer of hope at the end that she may be changing, but I will say with the book, All Things New, that there's definitely a bigger character arc change. So you do have a little bit more of closure, I guess, as far as like character development with this book versus Scarlett's character in the movie. If you like the movie The Lake House, then you will like The Serendipity by Emma St. Clair. So the similarities between these two are they're both romances set around a magical structure that the characters live in. The Serendipity has a magical matchmaking apartment building that puts 2 people together. And then this one is a lake house that has magical properties. There's a little bit of a time thing with this one, though. But the lake house is bringing these 2 people together and they fall in love. If you like the movie 27 Dresses, then you will enjoy I've Said Love by C.P. Cabanis. So, content note about this one, 27 Dresses. There is a faded black sex scene in here. There may be language, I can't remember. But the biggest thing I remember is the faded black sex scene. So, anyways, between the two, these are both romance, chick flick type of stories related around 2 people that fall in love with weddings being thrown in there. So this one is about a girl who's been a bridesmaid 27 times, and this one is about 2 characters that are helping plan their best friend's wedding. I hope you'll forgive me, but I am deviating a little bit from the movies category. This next one is a TV series, but there are spin-off movies from it, or not really spin-offs, but like the progression of the timeline. There are movies, so just clump them together. So Christie, if you like Christie, then you will enjoy The Librarian at Boone's Hollow by Kim Vogel Sawyer. So these are set in the Appalachian Mountains, and they are about characters that are outsiders. They move into a backwoods town in the mountains, and they are both perceived as outsiders and are treated as outcasts, and it takes a bit of time for them to build the trust in the residents of this area. One is a pack horse librarian, and the other one is a school teacher. So books have a theme in both stories, but primarily the struggles of the main character in figuring out life in this area, and it's harder than I thought it would be. And both of these have believable love triangles. I have very limited tolerance for love triangles, believe me, but for some reason both of these stories I did enjoy it. So there you go. Last but not least, if you enjoyed The Prince of Egypt, you will enjoy Counted with the Stars by Connie Lynn Cassette. So both of these stories are set during the time of the Exodus. Prince of Egypt is Moses' story, and Moses does make an appearance in Counted with the Stars. Mostly he is a background character, like he's doing his thing that he's supposed to be doing from the events of the Bible. But he does make a very small couple pages worth appearance in Counted with the Stars to the main character as kind of like a pep talk, encouraging type of thing happening. But for the most part, these 2 stories have characters that are influenced by God to make changes, and they have significant faith walk journeys. But yeah, these basically the main theme for both of these are this time frame in history, the Exodus time frame. I really hope you enjoyed this list of books and movies that I think are similar enough that you would enjoy both or either. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Thank you so much for watching. Have a blessed day, y'all. Bye!